afternoon and welcome back to Football League World TV. It's the end of the week, which means it's time for our weekend preview show. I'm your host, Alfie Burns, and joining me my colleagues, Billy and Chris. Billy, how are you this afternoon?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to another fixture list tomorrow and tonight as well. Some cracking fixtures that we're going to go through. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
And how about you, Chris? How are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks. And yeah, as Billy says, there's a lot of very intriguing games, I think, starting tonight as well. So it's going to be a good weekend for a lot. It's good for all EFL fans.
Yeah, absolutely. A big weekend on the cards. We're streaming across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter this afternoon. So if you're joining us, going to a game or just want to get in touch, please do. We'll be in the comment section reading through what you've got to say. We're running through the Championship, League One and League Two. And as we always do, we're going to kick things off with the Championship. Couple of games in the Championship this evening, but our focus is on Bramall Lane with Sheffield United hosting Nottingham Forest. Big game for two sides sitting just outside of the playoff places heading into the weekend, and the guarantee that if they get a win tonight they could move into sixth ahead of Saturday's schedule. We'll start with the host, Sheffield United. They're in very good form at Bramall Lane since Paul Heckingbottom's taken charge. Have been very good to watch at home, but Heckingbottom's got a few injury problems just mounting at the moment. Chris, I'll come to you first here. Good form at home, injuries building. Which one outweighs the other at this moment in time?
I think the good form. I think they'll be really confident the way they're playing, and as you mentioned, at Bramall Lane, they've been very hard to beat, haven't they? So I think they'll be looking forward to this game. It's one of those games that you look at and it's just it could be a real marker for either side if they do get a win. And I think as players and fans, really, it's one you're looking forward to, because whoever does get the win will be a real statement of intent, and it could be the catalyst for a real strong end to the season. So I think Sheffield United, they don't fear anyone in this league really with the players they do have, even with the injuries, they still have a very quality squad. So yeah, they'll be looking forward to it, and I think it Friday night it's got the ingredients to be a real classic tonight, and it's obviously going to be tough, but it's one that they'll be ready for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough because Forest are a very good side, and they've shown that in the FA Cup with some of the teams that they've beaten, Arsenal and Leicester. Of course, tonight, Steve Cooper's without Lewis Grabban, Bryce Samba and Max Lowe, who can't play against his parent club. But Forest are in good form and they're full of confidence. Billy, can they get a result, and where do you think that this Forest side can hurt Sheffield United?
Yes, it's going to be a very interesting matchup, as you say. It's two Titans going for this Championship playoff spot. It's one game that you really don't want to lose, not just because losing doesn't get you any points, but it gives a direct rival all 3 points. So in that respect, yeah, Forest will be very eager to score all 3 points. As you say, some big players missing, especially Max Lowe, because when he's missing, it often means that Jack Colback comes to left wing back, and whilst he's a competent enough option, they do lose that sort of attacking threat down that left hand side. So that should be interesting to see which way he does go for that. Does he go for Colback or wherever he does go? But as you say, Cooper has completely revitalised the feeling around Nottingham Forest, similar sort of feeling to Heckingbottom at Sheffield United. And yeah, I think we're going to see a really exciting game in terms of the threats that Nottingham Forest do possess. They've got talent all over the pitch. It's hard for a team like Sheffield United to try and nullify the threats that they do possess, because, as I say, it's all over the pitch. Jed Spence on the right-hand side, Brennan Johnson playing more centrally recently, and the midfield talent as well, the creativity that's there, the relentlessness as well. It's going to be a real good game tonight, and it's going to be difficult when it comes to our predictions, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that you've hit the nail on the head there with the two Forest players in terms of Spence and Johnson. I think that down that right-hand sort of channel, they could do some real damage to Sheffield United's left edge of what's likely to be Jack Robinson and Reece Norrington Davis. Let's get some predictions then. Billy, up first.
It's hard. It really is hard, but I'm going to have to go on the fence and go 1-1.
And what about you, Chris?
I think there's two evenly matched sides, two very good sides who will both be in the top 6. But I'll go with the home side. I think Sheffield United unbeaten in 7 at Bramall Lane. I'll go 2-1 Sheffield United.
Moving on to some of tomorrow's fixtures then, we're going to move to the other end of the table. We've got Derby versus Barnsley. This is a massive game at the bottom of the table. Derby in 23rd and Barnsley in 22nd. So much off-field stories that we could talk about with Derby, but we'll stick on the field. 3 defeats on the spin for Wayne Rooney's side. Rooney labelled the Cardiff game in the week as must win. They lost that. If that was must win, Chris, what does that make this weekend?
Yeah, there you go. Must win. Yeah, it's one of them. Isn't it? They've got to get the points quickly because the games are running out. I think 11 games and they're 8 points behind, and Reading have a game in hand, I think. So yeah, they've got to win, haven't they? Really, especially it's even more important when you look at Barnsley's position, because if they lose, Barnsley will be the side that will have Reading firmly in their sights. So yeah, it's a massive game for Derby. I think we all know that. We know you could argue it's the last real big chance for them, but I think at home they'll take encouragement from the form they've shown this season. That's been the one. It's been where they've got the majority of their points. I think it'll be another big crowd tomorrow, and the support will recognise just how important this is for Derby. So yeah, I think this is they'll be going at it from the first minute. I think they'll be trying to use everything they can to get the result, and it's going to be tough because Barnsley have found form in recent weeks. But yeah, it's. I think they know that this is like, again, they're not going to give up if they lose, but they'll know just how important this is, so they'll leave everything out there for this game.
Absolutely. I think a couple of weeks ago you'd have looked at this fixture and thought that it's a real opportunity for Derby, but as it is, Barnsley have won back-to-back fixtures and clicking into gear, and at the moment, out of the bottom 3, they're looking the most likely to pull themselves out of trouble against the odds. But Billy, they probably need a win this weekend to back up those 2 wins.
Yeah, 100%. And as much as they do need a win, I'm sure if they don't secure all 3 points, they'll continue to improve, continue to get things going again, because what we've learned from Barnsley over the last few years is that when they are in these kind of situations, when there's the expectation that Derby are going to go, that Barnsley are going to go down, or they're not going to make the playoffs as it was last year, that they seem to really come into their own. And I don't know, it might be third time lucky in that respect, because we're coming to the crunch end of the season, and they've got this big objective to fulfill. So yeah, it's going to be a real exciting game. Derby haven't been putting in the worst of performances in this sort of winless run, whereas Barnsley have really turned a corner. Bassi and Domingos Quina are turning into 2 really, really good additions, and Callum Stiles is starting to find form again, and I think their defence has been quite resilient all season. So it's all parts are clicking into gear, and it wouldn't surprise me again to see another Barnsley win.
It was something that me and you discussed a few weeks ago, wasn't it, Billy? The fact that Barnsley's performances didn't really match up with the results that they were having, and once things did click into gear in terms of results, then they'd get moving. So it's interesting that prediction was right. Let's get some predictions for this game then. Derby versus Barnsley. Chris, up first.
I can't really argue what you said about Barnsley's improvement, but I am going to go for a Derby win. I think with the crowd, I think Tom Lawrence coming back as well is a massive one for Derby. I think it's no coincidence they lost the 3 games and he was suspended. So yeah, I'll go Derby to edge it 2-1.
And how about you, Billy?
For the purpose of not trying to guess everyone 1-0, I'm going to go 2-1 Barnsley.
Good stuff. It's what we like to see. 2 different predictions. We can come back to that on Monday. Moving back up to the other end of the table then, and the playoff race. We've got Middlesbrough versus Luton at the Riverside again on Saturday. Start with Middlesbrough. Chris Wilder's side have been a little bit up and down in recent weeks, losing to Bristol City and Barnsley, but they've got the scalp of Tottenham under their belt from the week in the FA Cup. Chris, can they start finding a little bit more consistency in Middlesbrough to go on and cement that place in the top 6?
Yeah, I think they can. I think the problem is with them is the away form. I think 4 away without winning in the Championship, and that's not good enough. As you said, the Barnsley game last week, they kind of was it 2-0 after 15 minutes. You can't do that to any side at this level, and the little mistakes that they need to cut out. But it has generally come away from home. I think at the Riverside they've been pretty phenomenal since Wilder came in. It's 7 wins in a row. So they're going to at home they're a real force. So it's going to be really tough for Luton. I think it's not really a fluke either. When you look at Middlesbrough's side, they do have a lot of quality and a lot of positions, and they have depth up top as well. So Wilder's able to make changes, they're able to freshen things up. yeah, I do like Middlesbrough's where they are, and I think they will make the top 6. I think we know that Luton are a good side, and they're where they are because they deserve to be there. But I think at home, Middlesbrough fancy their chances against anyone.
Come on then, Billy. Let's talk about Luton Town. What's it like being a Luton Town fan at the moment? 6th in the table heading into this weekend.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Being a Luton fan, being 23 years old, I've only known the decline. As soon as I started supporting Luton, we went from the Championship to the National League. So to see us continue on this upward trajectory, it doesn't feel right, and it feels like someone's going to wake me up soon, because coming into the Championship playoffs is just surreal at the moment. And as Chris says, I think they deserve to be there with the performances. Not going to be the most eye-catching team in the world, but what Nathan Jones has is a group of players that fully trust in what he does. One interesting thing he did say the other day that said he would never want a billionaire owner, because he'd lose what Luton have. And he said even if they were working with double the budget, he really wouldn't want it, because this sort of togetherness and the atmosphere he's created at Luton is why they are where they are. And it's really good to see from a fan's perspective. There's no real stars. Everyone works for each other, and that's where they're getting results. But yeah, Middlesbrough is going to be a very, very tough test. And whilst Luton are in excellent form, it is up there probably at this period of time as the sort of the toughest game that could come in the Championship.
I mean, we spoke about tonight's fixture between Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest, and one of those being able to move into the top 6. But the sort of carrot dangling for Luton here, Billy, is the fact that a win sort of pushes Middlesbrough back a step and leaves you still in the top 6 come the end of the weekend. That's a big incentive, isn't it?
Massive. And as you say, it's Sheffield United Forest tonight, so points will be dropped there. There's some big games coming up this weekend where these playoff chasers could drop points, and if Luton can go to Middlesbrough and take all 3 points, then it really, really does cement their playoffs, their chances in the playoffs. And you look at if Luton win their games in hand, they can go above QPR, they can go above Huddersfield. So yeah, it's a really, really exciting prospect, but equally it is very, very scary.
Let's get some predictions then. Billy, up first.
I just think Middlesbrough are, that step above at the moment. I'm going to go for 2-1 Middlesbrough.
And what about you, Chris?
Yeah, sorry, Billy. I agree. I'll go 3-1 Borough.
Down into League One then. We've got first versus third tomorrow, with Rotherham hosting MK Dons in South Yorkshire. Rotherham giving very, very little away at home this season, and they made short work of MK in the reverse fixture 3-0, I think I'm right in saying. Chris, are we expecting Rotherham to sort of show their dominance that they've managed to show pretty much all season in League One?
I'm not sure about show their dominance. I don't think there is much between the teams in terms of on any given day. I think I listened to Paul Warne after they beat Plymouth last week, and he was tried to play things down. Obviously, he might be doing it for his own effect, but he was basically saying the results in the past month or so have been, they could have gone either way, and it's his side have found ways to get the wins or get the points when they haven't been playing well. And I thought that was a very honest assessment. So yeah, but that is obviously a quality in itself, that Rotherham are a side that you don't really know when they're beaten. They always stick around in games. So that is obviously a good attribute that they've got. But I do think that on any given day, MK Dons have certainly got the quality to get results. So I expect a tough, close game. Yeah, I think Rotherham will do what they always do. They'll stick around. They'll get chances. They will make it obviously difficult, and they are obviously a good side. They're not where they are by accident, but it's one of these. I think, yes, I do think they are, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but I do think they can be, sides can get results against them.
Yeah, it's almost like a little bit of a clash of styles, really. Yeah, and we're talking about Rotherham as league leaders, MK in third, and they're in a good moment themselves, 3 wins on the bounce. But it feels like a big few weeks coming up for Milton Keynes, with the fact that they play Rotherham this weekend and Wigan's not a million miles away. Now, these are big fixtures for them, aren't they, Billy?
Yeah, I think it's objective defining games, really. I think after these two games, you can probably start to find out whether they are going to challenge the automatic promotion places, or if they're going to be confined to a playoff battle, which any objective is brilliant. I think Liam Manning's done a really, really good job. And you think of what happened in January, losing O'Reilly, Kyoso going back as well, lost some integral players, and they've managed to recruit well. They've managed to stay within their means in terms of recruitment as well, recruiting quality players and not just panicking in the market. And I think we're seeing the sort of the full rewards of that now. And they're just a real quality side. I think we've spoken during the week about Scott Twine, the kind of impact he has, and he's definitely a championship player in the making. He could even go higher. He's that good. I think it's coming into these two massive games, and afterwards we'll definitely see where MK Dons are and what they can expect in what remains of the season. And sort of looking at their recent form as well, unbeaten their last 8. Their only defeat this year was against Doncaster in January, and I think that was just after O'Reilly departed, and that was when people started to think that, okay, this could be the end of their positive run, that they might drop out the playoffs. But they've just proven people wrong, and that's what they've been doing all season.
Absolutely, it's a big game, this one, and it should be a good game. Let's get some predictions then. Chris, up first.
Yeah, I think it'll be really close. I'll go for 1-1.
And what about you, Billy?
Yeah, very close, but I just think Rotherham always find a way at the moment. I think they might just edge it 1-0.
The team sandwiched between Rotherham and MK then is Wigan Athletic. So with Wigan's 2 rivals either side of them, playing each other this weekend, they face Wimbledon, and it's quite a big game for them. Wigan, we know how good Wigan have been all season, and the heavy favourites against a Wimbledon side that's down in 20th in the table, Chris. So heavy favourites, but is this as routine as you might think it is for Wigan?
Well, yeah, obviously it's always difficult. There's never easy games, but yeah, I do expect them to win. I think we've mentioned before how the mentality at Wigan seems to be really good. Whenever there's a slip up like the Sunderland defeat, they come back and follow it up with a win. I know it's only Fleetwood at home, but it was 2-0, job done, and that's kind of how it's been for them all season. They always respond well, and they've got a lot of quality and experienced players as well. So I wouldn't worry too much about the pressure getting to them. I think we've known for a while they've had all the games in hand. They're obviously catching up now, but it's always, I think people have always been thinking, Wigan will get those points, and that generally they have. So yeah, I think they're a good side at this level. I think they'll get automatic promotion with Rotherham, and yeah, I do expect a pretty straightforward win, even though Wimbledon are obviously fighting for their lives.
Yeah, let's talk about Wimbledon then. Fighting for their lives, just outside the relegation zone, but teams below them are actually getting going a little bit. Doncaster as one example that have picked up points in recent weeks, but Wimbledon have got spirit in them to go and get something from games like that. A 1-1 draw with Sunderland not too long ago, Billy. What are your thoughts on Wimbledon coming into this fixture, and maybe just in general about where they are at the moment of this season?
Yeah, as you say, they put in a really, really good performance against Sunderland. Probably deserved all 3 points, which just shows that the ability they do have when everything's on song. They are a very, very good football club, and I think we've seen that in glimpses this season, predominantly at the start of the campaign. 15 games without a win though in the league is entering that territory of it's difficult to see where the next win will come from, even though they do play good football and they do create good chances. It's just combining that with this consistency factor now. As I say, it's difficult to see where that next win will come from, especially when you're playing a side as good as Wigan, as devastating as Wigan. Of course, they did lose 3-0 to Sunderland themselves, but I think one thing I've said about Wigan all season is that they managed to find a way back to winning ways almost imminently. As soon as they're disappointed with a result, they respond in the correct way. And I think for that reason, it's going to be very, very difficult for Wimbledon. But, Woodyard and Radoni are both back, both, got quality to play higher than this division. The problem is that at the inexperience levels within the squad, and whilst, as I said before, they've got individuals that are going to go on and succeed in their future, it's just difficult without that experience factor, especially against a Wigan side who have, integral figures like Max Power in the squad, James McLean as well, just people that will got this mentality and got this winning mindset. I think it's going to be a very difficult afternoon for Wimbledon.
Let's get some predictions then. Billy, you up first?
I'm going to go for a convincing 3-0 Wigan.
And what about you, Chris?
I go pretty comfortable 2-0 Wigan.
Big game in League Two tonight then between Mansfield and Exeter City. Mansfield sitting 7th in the table and Exeter in 4th, positioned in the playoffs heading into the weekend. Big game, two teams in fantastic form, it's got to be said. I can't pick who's the favourite for this. Chris, can you?
Again, I'd probably lean with the home advantage. Maybe Mansfield have been pretty excellent at home. I think it's 9 wins in a row, which is remarkable for Clough's side. So, yeah, I think at home I'd make them slight favourites. But as you said, they're obviously playing a side above them in the table, admittedly only a point. But yeah, Exeter have got a very good away record as well. So yeah, we're talking slight favourites there, and it promises to be another really big game for both sides because they both have the top 3 firmly in their sights, and the playoffs will be like the minimum expectation for both. So I think Mansfield, they got the win at Bradford last time out, which wasn't the most convincing performance, but they're another side who've tended to find ways to get wins, which is what it's all about really when the games are coming thick and fast. So I think at home, again, their record says that they won't fear anyone, but admittedly, like Exeter are very good on the road. So yeah, kind of contradicting myself, but yeah, there's not much between them, and it will be close, but I'd probably lean towards Mansfield.
And the way that League Two always tends to shape up, there's not much between any of the clubs really, all in the top half of the table. And with Northampton and Tranmere playing tomorrow, a win for either of these two sides tonight, could potentially put them up into the top 3, Billy. It's just an incredible division, isn't it?
Yeah. League Two often is very, very underrated for the kind of drama that we see at the end of the campaign. And it appears that this season's going to be no different. I actually think Mansfield and Exeter are going to be 2 teams that finish in the automatic still. You say there, Northampton and Tranmere, they're starting to loosen their grip near the top of the division. And these are 2 teams in excellent form. So whoever wins tonight, I think they bolster their chances of automatic promotion massively. Whilst I don't think a defeat will be the end of whoever does lose, if there is a loser. But yeah, as you say, Mansfield, brilliant at home, brilliant. Both home and away, actually. 33 points from a possible 39 has really propelled their position in the in the League Two playoffs. Sorry, defensively speaking, a proper strong outfit and do enough going forward as well. Matty Longstaff coming in, adding that real quality. Reece Oates scoring for fun again, and yeah, it just seems a very happy camp at the moment, and a real good place to play your football. And I think the same could be said for Exeter, who will have that extra motivation of avoiding the playoffs, because we know how that's ended up for them in recent years. So yeah, it's going to be a real good game. And you think of Exeter as well, 9 games unbeaten, beating some very, very capable teams in that time as well. It's very, very hard to call, and I know you're going to come back for a score prediction. I really don't know what to tell you.
All right, I'll give you a second to think about it then. Chris, prediction, Mansfield v Exeter?
It is a really tough one. I wouldn't be surprised with any of the 3 results, but I've got to say, I'll probably go 1-0 Mansfield.
And what about you then, Billy?
Yeah, back on the 1-1 fence, I'm going to go 1-0.
And as we sort of touched on there, then tomorrow's game's a big one heading into the weekend, 2nd versus 3rd. Northampton hosting Tranmere. The top 3 in general at the moment are struggling for results, Forest Green included, but they're miles ahead at the top, so we're not going to talk about them. The pressure's building a little bit on Northampton and Tranmere. Chris, how much do you think they're feeling the pressure of the teams that are closing in on them?
Yeah, I think they will be. I think it's always hard. Neither of those sides are the most prolific. I think it's 39 goals for Northampton, 36 for Tranmere in the season, which is it's not great at all by any means. So when you are a low-scoring side, you only need a few margins to go against you, like just bad form for your keepers, individual mistakes, and then you're in trouble, really, because it's hard to get the wins if you're needing to score goals. So I think that is a problem for both of them, and it's something that when you're at this stage of the season, you can't imagine they're going to suddenly turn into these prolific goal scorers for the remainder of the season. So it's going to be tough. They will be thinking that they need to find ways to win. Again, we've mentioned that League Two especially, it's just so important that you can grind out results here and there, and they have done that obviously, because that's why they're in the top 3. So you're not going to be panic buttons, but it is one of those where they need to make sure everything's right, because there is little margins that can go against, and then they will be getting more winless games. So this is probably a good opportunity for both to get, if there is a winner, you get back on track. It can give you the confidence moving forward. It'll create a nice cushion, or certainly give you a little gap, and then you try and build on that moving forward.
Yeah, if there is a winner tonight between Mansfield and Exeter, it heaps massive pressure on both these sides tomorrow, in my opinion. Let's get some predictions to finish off then. Billy, up first.
Again, a very, very tight one. I think it'll be a 1-goal winner, and I think that might just go the way of Northampton.
And what about you, Chris?
I'll go defence is on top. I'll go 0-0.
That concludes today's weekend preview. Thanks to Billy and Chris for joining me, and anybody that's joined us across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. There's going to be plenty more coming up on Football League World TV next week, including looking back on what's gone this weekend and some of the midweek fixtures that we've got coming up then. So we'll see you then, and between now and then, enjoy the weekend of football.